Welcome to Feel the Heat, a 5 Reasons Sports Network Miami Heat podcast. Hosted by Allana Tachauer and Michael Christian. This is your one-stop listen for all things Miami Heat culture, past, present, and future, on and off the court.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 15 of Feel the Heat. Michael is mocking me, and that is the mood we're in tonight. We should be in a mood, though, because Team USA lost their second game. Michael, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm Puerto Rican, so I'm just all Team Puerto Rico. I don't know how they're doing. I'll look it up. They used to have Carlos Arroyo, right? JJ Barea.
The way you just said that.
Carlos Arroyo. I mean, I'm not gonna say Carlos
again,
Arroyo.
Michael, again.
Oh, right. You got JJ Barea too. Like, listen, that's a decent set of guards. You got some JJ Barea shut down LeBron entirely, even though he's only like 5'4". It's incredible. Give me Team Puerto Rico all the way.
You're making JJ Barea taller than me. I take offense to that.
You are legally Oompa Loompa height.
I'm 5'2".
That is legal Oompa Loompa height.
I disagree with that.
Somebody's going to dunk you in some yellow paint. You're going to go work in a candy factory. And you're going to start dancing around and singing. Okay. Do you think
sounds like an awful life for me to live?
Do you think you would look at did they have purple hair? What color?
I believe so.
Yeah,
or
I think it was.
I mean, I quite like my mane.
No, excuse me. They had green hair.
I mean, it would bring out the color of my eyes, but still, we're happy with my blonde locks, I think.
I mean, you are sure. The color of your hair doesn't do anything for my life. So let's just be honest. Oh, that's the saddest face I've seen on you in a while. I mean, maybe only sadder than we can talk about Team USA basketball, but maybe only sadder than you were after the last NBA Finals game, because your beloved Suns took an L, a 20-point L. What? This was heading for a sweep.
To be honest, I blame the entirety of NBA Twitter. I'm not just coming after Heat Twitter this time.
Ooh.
Everyone wanted an extended series because, more basketball, and they ruined my sweep.
So that's what it was. So the Suns got on Twitter and they were like, you know what, guys, this is a little too easy. Let's just do what Twitter wants. Let's just take a seat, relax, let them have one game, enjoy their cheese. We'll come back in the next one. So that's what you're saying happened?
No, the basketball gods.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they felt the vibrations, the poor vibrations coming from NBA Twitter. And they were like, you guys want more games? Be careful what you wish for. And then a 20-point win happened.
I know you're not watching the Loki series, and I know that because I think you've maybe seen one Marvel movie in your whole life.
Yeah.
Do you know what that one is?
Wasn't there a Superman in theaters?
Listen, I don't know how many people listen to this podcast right now that are actually into the superhero stuff, but what you just said was a cardinal offense. That's like if I said Dwayne Wade was the third greatest Heat player of all time. Okay. Superman is a whole other thing. That's DC. That's the bad one.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh,
Marvel,
I literally had no idea. Okay, name some Marvel then.
Iron Man, Captain America,
no,
Thor,
no,
Spider-Man.
No. Oh, Spider-Man. I think I saw one of those.
I feel like you probably saw one before the MCU. Was it with Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone?
Yes.
Okay, that's not even the same universe.
Okay, fine. Keep going then.
I forgot where I was going. Oh yeah, I was talking about Loki, which is something everybody's talking about right now. Like everybody.
I know what it is. Does that help?
No, not really. That's fine.
Okay.
We're just gonna keep going, right? It's like this whole like conspiracy thing with the Time Variance Authority, and there's like a fake like head of it and everything. So that's what you're telling me. Some alien gods, right? The basketball gods,
correct,
messed with Chris Paul and Devin Booker the way the TVA is messing with Loki and Sylvie. That's what you're telling me.
Don't you feel like that makes sense? I think they combined for what, like 29 points? Something happened.
I mean, the Bucks played good defense.
No,
Sorry,
that
let me.
can't
Sorry,
be
no,
it.
no, no. Sorry, let me take that back. My Bucks played good defense.
The fact that you're still holding on to this is so upsetting to me.
Oop.
How can you pride yourself about being a fake at that, a fake Bucks fan?
Because you know what? Sometimes everybody wants one thing, and you just think to yourself, but what if the other thing happened, right? Like, what if all those people just had to shut up and eat it? And that sounds
But
kind of fun.
you're rooting for the team that swept your actual team.
Then what that means is that the Heat got swept by the best team in the NBA. It's not such a bad proposition.
So then you are just rooting for them. You're a traitor.
I wouldn't call it a traitor necessarily. I'll drop them immediately. Literally,
You're a fair weather fan.
if the Clippers had made it to the finals,
Oh
I would have
my
been a Clippers
God.
fan.
Okay, so you rooted for the Nets, the Clippers, and the Bucks.
Yes.
So basically, I'm gonna throw up in my mouth now.
Just any team that people seem to hate. The Nets, obviously, I know that a lot of people jumped on that bandwagon. It's a whole thing. But like the other two, yeah, for sure. But realize two of those three, it's an anti-Suns thing. So
You know, you're like the bane of my existence right now, right?
Bane is a super villain to a superhero. Do you know
Yes,
the one?
Batman.
Wow, look at
Oh,
you.
I like Batman.
Nice.
It's all dark and
is
mysterious.
Batman
It's like dark
DC
and
or
twisty.
Marvel?
DC.
Very nice. I feel like you know that because I went through all the Marvel stuff, but
Yeah, but also a lot of them I think were filmed in Chicago, so like it's even
yes.
cooler.
And do you know why?
Because of Gotham?
Exactly. Because Gotham City is a trash city. It's like really, really
We were
poor,
bonding
like a
for
lot
a
of
moment,
bad
and now
stuff.
this is what happened.
You could ask any actual like person that knows about comic books. Gotham City is like
They made a
notorious for being
TV show
horrible.
off it. Ryan Atwood from the OC was on it. He was the lead. I watched it for a little bit.
I cannot believe our show has gotten to talking about the OC. All I know about the OC is some scene
It's a great show.
where someone gets shot in like a hotel room or something. Isn't it like a fight with like a
Trey
brother?
gets shot.
Yeah, and the
Correct.
only reason why I know about that is because the whole like song thing, and then Saturday Night Live did a parody. Can we talk basketball?
That moment was literally chills down my spine. I own them all on DVD because I'm afraid that they won't be on a streaming service at some point. I love that show.
This is what the offseason does, right? And it's not even the offseason yet, technically, but I blame the Phoenix Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks for this.
I think you should blame NBA Twitter for what the basketball gods did.
I don't think anybody actually believes you.
I believe me, and that's enough for me. What do you think is going to happen in game 4?
What do I actually think is going to happen? I think the Suns are going to find a way to bounce back. I don't think the Bucks are going to have the same performance that they did because that's pretty difficult. I mean, you can't hold the Suns to 29% shooting from three consistently. I mean, they just shoot too well from outside. I think the Bucks number is going to run out. I think the Suns will find a way to win the game. They'll do what they have to do. Devin Booker is like 10 points. Pff, what am I? Somebody that plays for the Heat? No way. Like he's going to try to do a lot more than that. So I think the Suns are going to find a way to win it, go up 3-1, and then just have plenty of opportunities to end it from there.
That's the correct answer. So I'm glad you were realistic with it.
Now, do you want to hear what I think the basketball gods are going to do?
Go ahead.
I think the basketball gods are going to find a way for the Suns to just struggle big time from shooting again. They shot 48% from the field last game. They're going to shoot below 45% from the field because of the basketball gods. Then Devin Booker is going to get a couple of rough fouls. Like somebody's going to foul him. It's going to be a whole thing. He's going to get into a fight with somebody. It's going to be this whole thing. He's unfortunately
going to get into a fight.
No, Booker is going to get ejected. It's just going to be really downhill. The Bucks are going to claw their way back into a series. We've got a 0-0 3-game series left after that. That's what the basketball gods are going to do.
Michael might have had too much sugar before this episode because whatever you just spewed out was on a whole nother level.
I'm glad you went with sugar and not like some sort of drugs or anything. Very
I was
kosher.
trying to keep it PG for you.
For sure.
You're a wholesome type of guy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't even know how one would go about acquiring these illicit things. So, I mean, what would you just go around and be like, 1 weeds, please? Like, I don't know how that works.
I mean, you could have some CBD gummies.
You could. Would you like to talk about said CBD gummies?
Well, we'll save that for another show until something is deposited into my bank account.
Ooh, got him. All right. Well, let's transition back to the only NBA team that actually does matter, right? Because it's definitely not the Bucks or the Suns, regardless of this one trophy they may get. Losers. Olympic basketball. You started talking about it. USA lost to Australia tonight, right? As people are listening to it, it's probably Tuesday or Wednesday or some other day. We're recording on Monday night. They just lost. They also lost to Nigeria, or as many people like to call them, the Heat bench, right? What do you take away from these two games when it comes to USA basketball? Real, not real, panic, no panic? What are you thinking?
So I only watched probably 10 minutes of tonight's game versus Australia. But game one, I don't know. I think it's going to take time for them to get acclimated with one another. Obviously, these guys don't play together. I think between that and the fact that, Popovich is a very specific type of coach. He's one of the greatest, and that's not a knock against him, but some guys are not used to the system. So do I think that that's a cause for panic? No. On the other hand, if this continues, then that's going to be another story. But let's be real. Nigeria played the crap out of that game.
They did. Their top scorer was none other than, and I'm going to give him the credit for it because I feel like a lot of people are on that bandwagon, but especially him, Gad. Gad
absolutely
loves him some Gabe Vincent and has been honking that Gabe Vincent horn forever.
Loud and proud.
Talking about Gabe Vincent and his culture. Always talking about the defense. Not often enough about the threes because Gabe went ballistic, going 6 of 8 from the 3-point line. Now, this is something that you and I talked about, and I'm not sure. I don't know if they're playing at NBA 3-point line or Olympic 3-point line because I don't even know if technically the Olympic one moved back because I know before it was different, right? Like the Olympic 3-point line was more like European basketball. So I'm not sure. What was your guess from that, looking at it?
Well, I will say the ball looks like they're playing with an Olympic ball. So
the ball is different, yes.
If they're doing that, I would assume that everything's different to give them a little bit of a run before going over to Tokyo, if I had to guess, but don't quote me on that.
But Gabe Vincent played well. KZ Okpala played good defense. And the coach for Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken, it's Mike Brown, correct?
It is.
He's been touting up KZ Okpala like crazy. And Precious had one of the best blocks I've seen since Bam's block on Jason Tatum last year in the bubble. Just wild what he did to Kevin Durant. Were you watching that live? Like, what was your reaction to that?
I was watching that live. And even before that happened, I think, I don't know if I tweeted it or I was just talking about it with people, but his confidence level was way up. I think some of that can be, attested to the fact that he's clearly hit the weight room. He looks bigger. He looks stronger. He looks in better shape overall. And I think, that gives him the confidence to play better, but he was going out there just completely doing whatever he wants. And that block was crazy. I mean, crazy period, but to do that on KD, props to him. I feel like Heat Nation's going to run with that one for the rest of time.
Absolutely. But let's look at the USA side. And there's a couple things that I want to bring up that I'm kind of looking at and I'm thinking, even outside of a player like Bam and stuff, I'm looking at these opponents, right? Number one, Nigeria and Australia are not inept. This isn't like back in the day where there was maybe one or two other countries that could maybe compete. Like, these are teams that know what they're doing. They have NBA talent on their rosters. Two, this is NBA talent that looks excited and they're kind of foaming at the mouth to get this opportunity because you're taking down the juggernaut that is the USA basketball team. Yep. I mean, it's like back when the Heat had the big three, everybody's best game was against the big three because they were all really excited about being on the national stage. And on top of that, you have that these players for these other teams were likely bench players. I mean, let's be honest. Nigeria, Gabe Vincent, KZ Okpala, Precious Achiuwa all came off the bench for the Heat, so didn't get too much run. On the Australian national team, Joe Ingles was a starter, so he's going to be exempt from that. Aaron Baines, I'm pretty sure, is off the bench. Patty Mills is off the bench. Matthew Dellavedova off the bench. So they're not as tired, too, after the whole season, because, yes, they were there,
Pretty sure
but it's
Aaron Baines
different.
went down with an injury this game as well.
Oh,
Just
did
sucks
he?
to see, at least in the beginning.
Looks like he only played 3 minutes and 49
Yeah,
seconds.
I don't think he came back.
Well, that's a bummer. But either way, like I think those are legitimate kind of reasons as to why USA is losing. Do you agree with those? Do you have anything else that you're thinking, well, it's probably this too?
No, I mean, I think that's spot on. I think these guys, obviously the guys on Team USA are hungry, but they're hungry in a different way. I think these guys are really looking to prove something. And listen, I am not saying that Team USA is not proud to be playing for the US, but there's something to be said about playing, for that hometown country. And I think Nigeria in particular were very proud to not only represent Nigeria, but just Africa in general. And I think that's just an added motivator. So I think, between, to your point, them coming off the bench, but also just coming out and showing out for their countries, I think they have a little bit more drive than Team USA does right now.
They really do. And it's really coming out strong when you look at it. Let's go back to that Nigeria performance. We talked about how those 3 players played, but I want to talk about them each specifically and talk about whether or not what they did or what people have said about them will translate to the next season. Right. So we'll start off with KZ Okpala. KZ played some solid defense. If you watch that game, didn't contribute too much offensively, scored 0 points. He had 3 3-point attempts. None of them went in. He had 1 other field goal, did not go in either. He had 2 rebounds, 0 assists. He played 20 minutes though. I think playing 20 minutes, even if you have a bunch of zeros in your stat sheet, still kind of matters if your team finds a way to get to win. KZ for this upcoming season, do you want to see him stay with the team? And if you do want him to stay with the team, what is the role you want to see from him?
I think he would make a good trade filler, to be honest. Not to say I don't want him around, but I think that if you're being realistic in the guys that people are trying to get, he's probably going to have to be included. I think the fact that he's strong defensively obviously plays into the Heat's identity. And I think that he came in being a pretty strong defender, but I think he got better with Inspo's system. But, if the Heat are really trying to make as many moves as we've all been talking about for weeks and months now, I think he's probably going to be included in a package.
I think he could be included in a package. I think if another team still sees value in him more than the Heat do, I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm not a huge advocate for keeping KZ. I see the potential, right? You see all the makings of a solid NBA player. You see great athleticism. You see good length. You see a great idea for defending, but at least for NBA standards, he overplayed a lot. The game seemed a little fast for him. He was always kind of fouling. I could see it making sense. I just think one thing that we've talked about before and everybody talks about is the timeline situation. I don't know where KZ fits into that. And honestly, I think they had a great opportunity to see what they had out of KZ this season right off the bat. I think I don't know why not at least try and start KZ at the beginning. Instead, they went with your boy, right? They went with Maurice, that guy. I think that could have been a good opportunity to see KZ, but I mean, if you and I both had to guess, I would say he's probably not on the Heat this next season.
I agree with that. And I think to your point, everything is there. It's just not all clicking, at least not yet. I think he seems like he's always one step behind. I will say he seems like the kind of player who could develop into someone who has really high basketball IQ. I think he has a good understanding of the game. It's just that him being in it, for some reason, it's just he's a step behind. Like I said, I think they could develop him into a serviceable player, but I also think that he would work better as a trade package.
Yeah. Now, what about Gabe Cartagena Vincent? And I'm only saying that because that's Gad's last name. I'm pretty sure.
I did catch
got that
yes.
wrong. Ugh, sorry, Gad. But Gabe, 21 points in that game. If he keeps playing well, if he has a good Olympic run, do you think that'll give him more minutes on the Heat? Do you think the Heat will be watching that and thinking to themselves, okay, maybe let's give him a little bit more. This that he showed is important. And the reason why I ask is because I know you do follow international soccer a bit, actually. You said you were just
Shout
watching
out
the
to
Euros.
Alan.
Yeah, you were watching the Euros and everything. When the Euros and World Cup come around, when certain players step up on that stage to get everyone's attention and some of the big clubs start trying to sign them, it doesn't always work out, but it gets everyone's attention. Do you think this can be that for Gabe Vincent? And do you think it'll lead to more minutes with the Heat, or will it be, hey, good for you, this is our plan, we're going to move forward with it?
I think it depends if it keeps up. I think that one game was great. Nigeria played tonight again, I believe, but I don't know how they're doing or how Gabe did.
I will Google it.
Appreciate you, Michael. So I think if he keeps up, it'll get people's attention. I will say though, and I know that I literally say this probably once an episode, not everyone is going to fit into the same environment in the same way. And if we're being very honest, Spo is a great coach. He's elite, but he runs a very specific way of play, and especially offensively. Maybe it's just a matter of, him not fitting into that. So would it necessarily mean that I think he's going to step up or be given the opportunity to do so in Miami? No, but I think if he can keep up that play, I do think another team might take note of him. With that said, I think that moving forward, and I think you were actually the one that made this point, Spo might have to adjust a little bit. It might be time to kind of consider that his system worked for certain, rosters and a certain group of guys, but that maybe he just needs to think outside the box a little bit moving forward. And if that's the case, maybe he does have a place there. But I hope he keeps up. He looked great. I want him to do well. It's just a matter of if I think it's going to be for the Heat or another team.
True. And as an update, Nigeria did win their game tonight. They played against Argentina.
Oh, my ex is from Argentina.
Oh.
Born and raised.
Eat some skirt steak. I know they make those really well down there.
He was a fan.
It's so good. Goodness gracious. So Argentina was the 4th ranked basketball team in the world, according to those rankings. They beat them, I think, by 24.
Oh, wow.
Maybe more than that. Was it 23 points?
You're the mathematician.
Oh, 23. They routed them by 23 points, 94-71. And can I just say that in Googling this, I'm having a great time because the Nigerian basketball team Twitter account is amazing.
Straight savage. I am living for the savagery.
One of their latest tweets is that picture of the basketball coach from North Carolina, going into the locker room, all excited, kind of leaning in, super happy. And they're saying, at Basketball Australia, welcome. Now that Australia has beat the US and they beat the US, they're like, oh, we're forming this little club taking down the USA. I mean, you got to give it to them. That's clever. And it's funny as hell.
Oh, mad respect, even if it's at our expense.
And they tweeted right at Stephen A. Smith.
They did. I saw that earlier today. Big round of applause.
Listen, I think you and I can both say this. Are we swayed by the amount of Heat players on the team? Yes. But if USA doesn't win gold at the Olympics in basketball, but Nigeria does,
absolutely,
I'm okay with it.
I'm on board. It's a win for the Miami Heat in my eyes.
It is, because at that point, I'm assuming this is going to sound bad, but trade value, whoop, all the way up.
Through the roof.
So let's go to the last guy, though. Precious Achiuwa. So Precious had 3 points, 7 rebounds, that nasty block. I will say this. I like him as a player. I think he has a place in the NBA. His fit with the Miami Heat, to me, has always been a bit intriguing, just because I don't see him playing next to Bam, right? Unless one of them changes up their game a lot. Now, Precious did hit a 3-pointer right in Bam's grill in that game, which that was pretty hilarious. I'm sure he's giving him a bunch of crap for it. But I don't think Precious is really going to be that outside shooter. His rebounding presence isn't enough, in my opinion, to make up completely for Bam, and his size, right? That has at times been a little bit when the other team is playing a bit big. I'd just be interested to see where Precious's place is on the team outside of coming off the bench. And I think he could be good coming off the bench, but I feel like we're all kind of hoping for a little bit more from him. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. What did you think about Precious?
No, we definitely were. I think the only reason I've taken it a little easier on him is just because there was no G League, because of the shortened
Facts.
off season and because of COVID. I think that would have really helped him out, as well as some summer league run. So maybe the Olympics is kind of going to take a little bit of that place. I still think that us talking about how great his hands were, not the best idea, because the boy does not have great hands. Shout out to Ethan J. Skolnick. I think he took that one back. But no, I think the Olympics might be a good opportunity for him to get some extra run that he didn't have. I'm assuming he's gonna play for Summer League. Am I crazy to make that assumption?
I'd be shocked if he didn't, just because of how little work he's gotten with the Heat specifically. Like, obviously, he had the season, but the Heat like their off-season time. They're definitely going to want to take guys back. Honestly, if he were still on the team, if he's still on the team when it comes around, depending on the baby situation, I'm not so sure, but I could even see the Heat telling Tyler, like, hey, maybe come on through. We'll play you just a little bit, right? Get you a bit of a run, just because he didn't really have it last year either. And
he didn't. And rehabbing from that injury, I think, is still very important. So I could also see, however, Precious being a part of a trade package.
Yes, I think we can both see that. I mean, it's minimal, the amount of things that the Heat have that they can trade. They'd have to re-sign a bunch of people and do sign-in trades and stuff. So I think we could both see it happening. It would be a bit of a bummer if it did, honestly, just because it's like, you draft these guys, you have all these hopes, and then they go, right? And you're kind of thinking, all right, well, we didn't actually get to see exactly what happened to them. And it would, honestly, I'd feel a bit of a type of way if, for example, a Tyler or a Precious gets traded away and they go and start killing it on this other team. And you're just sitting there like, man, what were we doing wrong?
I do, but at the same time, I think the fact that, Tyler, it's a little bit different, but especially for Precious, the fact that he didn't get the development that most guys in his situation would get, I think it would be kind of easier to swallow if he went somewhere else and he took off just because he didn't get those extra reps in. But we'll see what happens. In the meantime, I'm gonna enjoy them doing their thing out there, and hopefully that does, help them wherever they are moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, we both have a second team now that we're watching pretty intently, honestly, even if it's just following their Twitter account, which is one of the best follows on Twitter. So if you're not following them, please go ahead and do that. One thing with the USA basketball team I wanted to talk about, just to kind of have a little bit of fun here. The first basket that Team USA scored against Nigeria was by Bam Adebayo. Do you know who assisted Bam Adebayo on that bucket?
Was it Dame?
It was Dame. Dame to Miami confirmed. Bam, I'm saying it.
You heard it here first, folks.
When you're watching these games, are you looking at that chemistry? Are you kind of watching a bit of the intricacies with Bam and Brad and Bam and Dame and kind of being like, oh man, they get along pretty well?
No, absolutely. I think on-court chemistry is important. Obviously, liking a guy off-court helps too. But I think that, if in these situations they don't really mesh, even though, again, it is different when you're not playing in the same type of system that you'd be playing in. But yeah, even if it's a pipe dream, I will absolutely be looking out for that. And I will cheer them on if they're doing well together.
I will say I always used to get really excited when I would watch the All-Star games or Team USA basketball. I think it was like 2008. And I would watch, and I know, Wade and LeBron always had a good time playing together. It never felt like it was going to happen, honestly. Anybody that was sitting there in 2008 being like, one day Wade and LeBron are going to play for sure, get out of here. No, you didn't. You did not think that. One person that I was actually excited about was Wade and Dwight Howard. Because those late 2000s Dwight Howard runs were ridiculous. And
I was a huge fan of his back then.
Yeah, we had already seen Wade and Shaq together. And I was like, man, you get Wade now scoring his 28 points per game, right? The next season was like 30. And give him Dwight just the alley-oops all day long. Oh, man, that was my dream team, right? Like at the time, like reasonable actual acquisitions. That's what I was hoping for. And so I can see it, right? Like every time Wade do an alley-oop, to Dwight, I was like, yes, give me that in a Heat jersey, please.
Well, and I think that's somewhat what's happening, not necessarily with Dame and or Beal, but in general, I think a lot of people are now even more so kind of falling into the narrative of Bam needing a true point guard. I know most people are thinking Lowry in that case, but I think on top of just chemistry, I think watching Bam with a different set of guys and be able to do things that are a little bit different is also just nice to see, because he gets to do something a little different and figure out, what he can focus on. I've said this in the past. People want him to be this 3-point threat. People want him to be more aggressive, at the rim. And that's great if you're trying to be a well-rounded player, and, props to him if he can figure out how to do it all. But I really think that now is the time to zero in on the skill that he wants to kind of perfect the most. And this might be the time to do it.
Yeah, I think this is the best time to do it. And this wasn't just about Bam's development. There was also some hope and some excitement behind Tyler's development. What was going on there with him being on the select team. Now, from what I understand, there were 3 players moved up from the select team onto the national team, and I believe they'll be going to Tokyo and everything as well. However, Tyler Herro was not one of those 3.
He was not.
Kind of drafted up. What did you think about that? Did you take anything from that?
I was a little bit surprised. Maybe not so much that Tyler wasn't included, but at the names that were called up. This is not throwing shade at any of them. I just, from kind of the players that were available, for them to be the ones picked, it was interesting. I will fully give you credit for this, but we talked about this offline, and maybe Tyler's situation in his personal life with his girlfriend being pregnant did play into it. I don't know when she's due, but at the end of the day, Tokyo is quite far away. And if she's due soon, or if, anything, God forbid, happens, maybe they kept that in mind and he wanted to be closer. I don't know what the case is. I don't necessarily think that it's indicative of him not making progress there or of people not thinking he's good enough. But I will say those selected were a surprise to me.
Those selected were, and drum roll for the class talent that they went ahead and moved up: Darius Garland from Cleveland, Sadiq Bey from Detroit.
That's a great last name, by the way.
Sadiq Bey. I mean, it's spelled B-E-Y though.
I know. I kind of like that better though.
Really? Better than B-A-E and B-A-Y?
Yeah, B-A-Y, that wouldn't be fun.
I mean, that's just like the actual Bay.
Exactly. That's not like a cool nickname or a cool last name.
B-A-E would be a cool last name?
Yeah, I mean, I don't use that term. There's only one person in my life that I let use that term because it's just very fitting for her. My best friend Shira uses that all the time, and I allow it because it's just, I don't know. It just rolls off the tongue fine for her. But everyone else, like, that term needs to stay away. But I feel like B-E-Y, it's a good last name.
Mo Harkless calls you up right now and calls you Bay. You're totally down.
He can call me that all day, every day.
He can just call you whatever he wants.
Absolutely.
Weirdo. And the third was Keldon Johnson from the San Antonio Spurs. I agree. It feels like Tyler probably had some other stuff going on. And even then, maybe they just didn't want Tyler. Maybe they just felt like, hey, we've got some other pieces on this team that we think fit better. Mm-hmm. And we kind of want to go with those guys instead of Tyler. That could have been it too. I just wouldn't be surprised if it was, his personal situation. I mean,
that, or to be honest, at the end of the day, we need to remember the Heat had a very long run between the bubble and the shortened off season and then making the first round of the playoffs. That's a lot of basketball. And he was also injured. So I don't know. It could be a variety of things. I don't think that people should read too far into it. I, again, was just more surprised of who did make it.
Yeah, it was a bit surprising, but honestly, the select team wasn't all that great to begin with. Mm-hmm. And some of their best talent, Anthony Edwards and Miles Bridges, got hurt in practice. So, they just kind of went with whatever it was that they had left. Last thing before we go, did you see Udonis Haslam's Instagram picture, his latest Instagram picture?
I did not, which I'm embarrassed about now. What was it? Do
you actually follow Udonis Haslam on Twitter? On Instagram.
Of
I'm
course I
making
do.
sure.
Unlike
Okay.
you, not following Jimmy. Let's reiterate
Excuse?
that one.
Excuse?
I'm pulling it up as we speak. Oh, here it is.
All right. Describe
Oh
the picture for people.
man. Oh man. Him with Precious, Gabe, Bam, who has quite a do-rag on, and Spo himself with the
Any-
caption, "We ain't faux everybody."
Anything jump out at you?
Besides the photo itself?
Yeah. Is that the right amount of people for that picture?
Am I missing something?
¿Dónde está KZ?
Oh, well, he might have been taking the picture since there's one seat pulled out.
I know, but that's what's funny though. Either he wasn't there because I'm not reading into this at all. No part of me is like, oh, this is a sign that KZ's leaving. No, but it's funny because they either made KZ take the picture or KZ just couldn't make it. But I think for comedy's sake, I think my favorite would be KZ was then like, KZ, you take the picture.
Wait, someone literally asked this.
Oh, really?
Oh, someone said, damn, y'all made KZ take the picture. And then UD answered, you can ask the Dark Knight personally why he didn't show up. We sent out the bat signal and everything.
Oh,
and then
so KZ
put a bunch of moon emojis. So he was not there, but not for their lack of wanting him there. Mystery
so
solved.
Funny. I didn't actually look into it that far. Now, can we just keep that he's the one that took the picture?
That's fine. I mean, I disproved you, but if that's the narrative you want to run with.
Well, because let's just go with this, right? Spolstra, Bam, and UD were like, well, we're obviously in the picture, right? So then Precious, Gabe, and KZ.
Gabe was like, I just shot lights out. And Precious was like, I just murked KD.
Mm-hmm.
And KZ was left.
KZ was like, what? But come on, I can be in the picture. So then him and Precious did like a rock, paper, scissors, best of 3. Right? KZ loses the first one, wins the second one. We got a nail biter, loses the third one, rock to paper, one of the worst losses you can have. So now KZ had to take the picture. So
there you have it. The made up evening.
I think it sounds a lot more fun.
By Michael Christian.
Do you not think it sounds more fun that way?
No, I like that I investigated and found out.
The truth can only be stretched so far, right? It can only be so interesting. Sometimes you got to add a little bit of something on there.
This is a great way to end this episode, Michael. I have enjoyed this thoroughly.
I'm glad. I've enjoyed it as well. Any closing thoughts?
Next week, perhaps you will see us on a live stream, still TBD. You will see us once this month, at least. So until then, we will bid you adieu and good luck to Team USA, who I believe plays again tomorrow night, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. I'm not sure, but good luck, Team USA. Good luck, Team Nigeria. Your Twitter account alone stole my heart. And lastly, go Bucks.
Thanks for listening to Feel the Heat. Can't get enough of your hosts? Follow Allana at Allana Tachauer, Tachauer, and Michael at Michael, 5 RSN on Twitter and Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe.